Blocks. They're the most fundamental child's toy ever created. Kids from the Stone Age to today have played with blocks, perhaps the most versatile amusement in human history. Beyond the scope of play, blocks can be used for something else, to build, and sometimes to be knocked over. The impact and influence of blocks had a truly powerful effect on one man in particular, Soviet computer scientist Alexei Pajitnov. In 1985, Pajitnov grew tired of his long days spent huddled over a screen doing boring shit and decided to huddle over a screen designing a video game instead. What was the game about? Why, blocks, of course. 7 different blocks, each one made up of 4 smaller blocks. He called this game Tetris, derived from tetra meaning 4 and is meaning is. Initially coded on an Electronica 60, which is an outdated Russian piece of shit, Pajitnov soon had Tetris ported to an IBM PC, an outdated American piece of shit. The game quickly grew in popularity, but truly hit a high point in 1989, when a licensing agreement was formed with Nintendo, bringing Tetris to both the NES and the Game Boy. The game's addicting nature and simple premise made it a perfect marriage for the handheld platform, resulting in over 35 million copies sold, ensuring that both Tetris and the Game Boy would live in our hearts and minds for decades to come. Is there more to Pajitnov's story? Sure, they made a whole crappy movie about it with Taron Egerton, but all we're interested in discussing is the blocks. Today's show is all about Tetris and the Soviet design that made it such a massive hit. To paraphrase the late great Ronald Reagan, Mr. Pajitnov, tear down this wall. It's a video game podcast.
Wow.
And there's so much to discuss.
So.
One of us knows all about them.
That's you.
And the other one's a dunce.
That's me.
You're gonna learn about the very best games with 2 annoying dorks.
Fatality.
From asteroids to Zelda. From adventure to Zork. We have no life and we feel no shame. We need your help, 'cause we're bad with games. Bad with games. Welcome to the show. My name is Jonathan.
My name is Will.
And we are Bad with Games.
This is our second episode together.
Our second episode together. And our first episode since launching the show to the general public.
Yeah, so now you know we're going to keep doing it.
This is your clue. We are not giving up. It wasn't a one-off. We're committed.
Hell yeah.
And this week, we're talking about Tetris. Specifically, we're looking at the NES and Game Boy versions of Tetris from 1989. And you know what else happened in 1989?
I do. I can think of 2 things that happened in 1989.
2 very special little bundles of joy were brought into this world.
You might even call them Thing 1 and Thing 2.
Yeah. Are you excited? Did you see the trailer for the new Cat in the Hat where there's like 9 things now?
I did see that. That's a lot of things. There was more. Some of them there were like teen things.
Yeah, oh yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah, a lot of things. Anyway, we were born in that year.
Yeah. That's exciting, right?
Now, we are going to talk a lot about Tetris very shortly, but because this is our first episode post-launch, I do want to do a little bit of housekeeping, which I do, which I know people listening or watching will say, oh, this is boring.
Right.
I'm here for Tetris talk, baby. But I just want to do a little bit because, you know, now we're actually doing this with the expectation people are listening. Before we were just talking to ourselves and it was a little stranger. So I just want to say, if you've checked out the show and you're back again now, if it's your first time or you came back, thanks for checking us out. And a couple of things, again, we're a podcast wherever you get podcasts in audio form. We're also on YouTube at Bad with Games. We also launched a second channel, which we didn't even planned to do when we recorded the last episode.
Right.
We really went kind of crazy at the last minute. We have a second channel that's up now. It's called Worse with Games. And if you subscribe to that one, you'll sometimes get bonus stuff such as the song parodies that we do. And last week we did a full-length hour-plus game commentary of the two of us watching our footage of Mario Brothers, which I would recommend if you thought that our normal podcast didn't have enough screaming. That
Right.
will really fix that for you.
Yeah, if you thought that we don't there's not enough tension, we don't fight enough. You wish we were more antagonistic.
Yeah. This is like the nice, relaxed NPR version of the show. And that was, I mean, I literally had to go through and at points lower my volume because I was actually screaming at you. So look forward to that. Definitely check that out. Please go look at that. And also, we have a Patreon, which doesn't have anything paid on it yet. There's nothing exclusive. There's no option to give us money there right now, or maybe you could, but there would be no reason to do it. But you can sign up for free, and any updates about new stuff we release will go through there, so it's all in one place if you are easily confused by things being in different places. And we do want to know if and when we do start some kind of a paid Patreon at some point, what you think you would like to see us do there. But we don't need to get into the weeds on that right now. It's episode 2.
Wow.
I think that's it. That's all the housekeeping.
That's a lot of housekeeping.
I'm sorry. I know it's boring. I know we should be talking about Tetris. I know this sucks.
No, it's good. We're going crazy. I can't believe that we are on episode 2 and we already made a second channel and a Patreon. That's wow. I think we're not. Here's the thing, though. We're not biting off more than we can chew. We can chew a lot more than you think we can. I'll tell you that right now.
We're biters and chewers.
There's nothing we can't chew.
And now that it's up and running, it's a little bit easier. Last week was a bit hectic, but we're going to start being in a groove now.
Mm-hmm.
Smooth sailing from here. And again, this week we're talking about Tetris. This is going to be an episode. Yeah. We're really going to find out what this show is, I think, today.
Okay.
I mean, as you were saying before we started the show, and I had the same thought, we'll see, how much do we have to say about a game like Tetris, which is a relatively straightforward, simplistic puzzle game compared to something like Mario, which even the original Mario, as simple as it is, it has characters and multiple levels and things that you can have a discussion about. How much can you say about Tetris if you're not, say, a Tetris pro or the creator of the game itself? That's what we're going to find out today. And I think we'll have enough.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you right now, longtime listeners of ours who've been to our previous projects will know that we can get a good hour and a half out of pretty much any subject. Doesn't matter what it is. I will say if we go over 2 hours on this, I'm going to get a little bit worried and I'm going to think we need to start reining it in because, oh boy, things could get out of hand real fast. But We'll see. Maybe they'll get out of hand. Maybe that's what the people like.
Now, last week I had said to you, hey, you had a lot of trouble with Mario. Mm-hmm. Tetris should be a little easier for you. That's what I thought. That's what I said at the time. And we're going to see if that's true, how that bears out in this week's episode, as we both played quite a bit of it. It is a strange thing, this Tetris. No, it's not. It's not that strange. It's actually quite normal. Everybody knows what Tetris is. It's a puzzle game. It's the puzzle game, really. It's the the inventor of the falling block genre that now there's a million. You could call some of them knockoffs. You could call them influenced by, but there's all kinds of variations on this theme of blocks come down or pieces of some kind come from sky and something happens to them and you do that something.
Yes.
This is the progenitor.
I think a good question for me, the guy who, I'm here because I don't play video games. I've never played anything. A good question for me might be, presumably I've played Tetris before, right?
This is a great question because it's really, and yes, that we should probably restate the theme of this show, even though it isn't the
Hmm.
theme song. You don't know anything about video games. I do.
Hmm.
It's something that I didn't even think to ask you. I mean, this would be the place I would ask you, I suppose, right here on this show. But it's also, I can't remember Tetris ever coming up, in
Hmm.
conversation between the two of us outside of this show ever. But it does seem like of all the video games, everybody's played Tetris. I just take it for granted. Everyone I've ever met at some point or another has played some version of Tetris because we're talking about a game that is available on cell phones, on any device you could feasibly purchase and download things on. There's some kind of Tetris on there that you can play. So,
Yeah. Mhm.
have you ever played Tetris
So
before this?
the answer to this question is that I refuse to believe that I haven't. There's absolutely no way that I haven't played some Tetris at some point. Right? Like, I know how Tetris works. I've seen people play Tetris. I've seen gameplay. There is no way that I haven't played Tetris or played some kind of clone of it. Maybe it was like a Flash game version. I don't know. I must have done this. There is absolutely no way I haven't done this. I am fairly convinced that whatever Tetris I have played, I have not played in the last 15 to 20 years, and that I probably, prior to this week, have less than 2 hours total gameplay in my life of Tetris. But there's no way I have none. There's no way I have none. That couldn't be true.
But you can't say for sure one way or
I
the
can't
other.
say for sure. I have no memories of it, but my memory is also very famously bad, so.
Now, this is probably a stupid question, but is there
Mhm.
any other puzzle game possibly somewhere in your repertoire like a snood? They used to. I don't even know if you know what Snood is,
I don't
but
know what Snood is.
I thought that was like an old freeware PC game, so I thought it might have come across your desk at some point. But like a Puyo Puyo or a Bejeweled or a Peggle, even like one of those Match 3 games, anything Bust a
Mhm.
Move, any of these, because maybe it's like, oh, you didn't play Tetris, but there's so many sort of takes on this. But I'm guessing the
Ye
answer is no.
Yeah, so I have for sure, and I couldn't give you a name on any of these, but I have for sure played like Bejeweled knockoffs. I don't think I've ever played Bejeweled proper, but I've played things that are like that, these kinds of match three things. I've definitely played Tetris likes in the sense of like match these blocks to knock them out or whatever. Also would have been like 15 plus years ago. But I've definitely done that. I've seen these sort of Tetris like games. Um, I actually do think that there is a reasonable amount of similarity between Tetris and something like, say, Minesweeper, which I do still play on my phone occasionally if I'm bored. Um, I remember when I first taught myself how to play it in like middle or high school when I was procrastinating doing schoolwork and I just decided to learn how to do it. I remember getting Tetris syndrome, like which is a thing, right? Like I know
Mm.
that phrase and I have gotten it with games before where I am just seeing block patterns and number patterns, right? Um, I think there's something to like rhythm games, which I've played, which, you do have a similar thing where it's like, okay, stuff falls from the top and you have to hit inputs, to match it.
Mm.
There's a lot of similarities with a lot of these, with a lot of games, right, for this, because it's so simple, it's so basic, right? It's so, here's a thing, it comes down, react, put it in its place or like hit X input or whatever.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think you're meaning that as in a negative way,
No,
but I
no.
but I but I think because sometimes people will say like, oh, it's simple as like it's not worth while because it's so basic, but and I would say it's fundamental or
Sure.
it's foundational. It's simple in the sense that the core of it is so obvious that it just kind of exists everywhere.
Yeah, it's pure. It's stripped
Yeah.
down to its like core components, so there's very little to it other than like the core gameplay mechanic, right? Like this is what you have, right? You're all in on you know, this is very specifically this, I don't know, the mechanics of it or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. There is
So
no sky in this. There was a sky in Mario, right? There's
yes,
no
right.
Goomba, right? There's
Right.
just some shapes.
Yeah, a lot of these games, will have things to talk about in terms of what counted for a storyline back in the day. And a lot of them will be more on the arcade side, especially from these, early to mid 80s games that are just, stuff happen. I mean, even Space Invaders sort of probably an influence on Tetris. Again, similar, things come from sky, you must deal with them. Right. Another Breakout would be another big one in that sort of
Yeah,
world.
Breakout would be sort of, yeah, but even Space Invaders, like the things are things, right? Those are spaceships.
They are things. Aren't they aliens? Maybe they're
Yeah,
spaceships
right?
too.
They gotta be, because they're invaders.
Right. But I mean, are they in ships? They're just like straight up, it's like an alien.
Oh,
I think.
I don't know.
We'll get Space Invaders, I think, is later this season. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's coming up. We'll get to Space Invaders. And then we'll really see how long we can talk about something. But this week we're talking about Tetris. I was going to say, I bet you've maybe also played Pokemon Puzzle League.
I actually haven't.
What's wrong with you? All right, it's fine. Which I believe is a ripoff of Tetris Attack, I think, is the game that's actually based on. Doesn't matter. So, Tetris is a game that I couldn't tell you, my first time playing Tetris or anything like that, because it's like, when's the first time you played checkers? It's just something that always has existed. I do, it's a game that when I was trying to think of what order we discuss these games in on this show, as we get deeper into it, I think there's more wiggle room of, somebody might have put this here or that there. Or maybe I think this is more important, or I just want to talk about it here instead of later. But when it came to really the first set of games, Tetris as number 2 was as obvious to me as Mario was as number 1. I feel like it's just the game that has permeated culture in such a way that anyone, with the exception of maybe you, who, whether or not they're a gamer, has seen Tetris, has played Tetris, understands the fundamentals of what it is, and it has been adopted into the lexicon as well. Yeah. Whereas you're talking about like Tetris syndrome or Tetris effect of going to sleep and seeing Tetris blocks in your eyes, or just anytime I'm around people, you're trying to fit stuff in a car, like pack suitcases in a trunk. Mm-hmm. You can say, I got to Tetris this stuff in there. And people know what that means.
You could say that. I don't think I know very many people who would use Tetris as a verb that way.
But I have, and I have heard other people do it. So I can vouch for it.
Okay. I would probably hear more like, it's like I'm playing Tetris over here type of thing,
No,
I don't know. I got to Tetris this? That's just weird.
No. You got to Tetris you got to Tetris that in there.
I don't know about that.
It's because you got to have like cool Buffy lingo. That's why. You don't say I'm gonna play. It's like I'm playing Tetris. You're like, hey, Scoobs, go Tetris that junk in there.
Wow, you sound really cool right now.
Well, if it were 2002 and I was much younger, I would.
That's the curse of getting old. And be like, back if it were 20 years ago and I were 20 years younger, I'd be cool right now.
If it weren't for those two little things. Yeah. I have a distinct memory too of being at the beach, and there were friends of my parents, like family friends, and this one adult man. I was playing my Game Boy all the time, of course, because I was a loser. This was like when I was a kid, and I just remember this guy would constantly be like, "Do you have Tetris? You got Tetris?" Which I didn't have. but that was just the point of reference for so many people,
Hmm.
of especially of a certain age who maybe didn't really get into video games. The Game Boy and Tetris were really linked. Tetris was like Mario with the NES, bundled with the Game Boy for a time. Once again, kind of giving it a cheat of selling a ton of copies. But the Game Boy would not have been as successful as it was without Tetris, and vice versa. It was this
Hmm.
incredible marriage at the right place, right time, and really
Yeah.
invented the modern phone app game 20 years in advance. Like
Yeah,
that,
this does make sense. I mean, I was going to ask about this because we didn't Tetris. We didn't cover like the arcade game today, and I know like the NES and the Game Boy were not the first versions of this or anything like that. So I was wondering about that. I was like, oh, are we being too Nintendo brained because you're the Nintendo fanboy? But
how
it
dare
does
you?
make sense that because I didn't know that. I didn't know that Tetris was like linked to the success of the Game Boy, but it does make sense. Like this is the sort of game that I could see myself getting really into when I was younger, on the condition that I pretty much always have access to the ability to pick it up and play a game of it whenever I'm bored.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's a perfect game for that sort of thing.
I don't know if you're aware that there is a phrase "pick up and play."
I've probably heard that.
Applied to games like this. That, yeah, it is the epitome of that concept. You can pick it up, play it for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour. It's always there for you. You can pause it. It's over whenever you need it to be. You don't have to pay too deep attention to it. You can play it while you're standing in line, you're waiting for your laundry to be finished, whatever. This really was the pioneer of that alongside the Game Boy. The two went hand in hand in that regard. Yes, the original release worldwide was on the PC. And I think the arcade version came out like pretty close to the home versions. But really, when it exploded was the Game Boy version. The NES version was
Hmm.
pretty big too. I believe it sold around 8 million copies. Game Boy version sold 35 million copies. So that's really what solidified its place. And also, as we'll talk about maybe more later on, any version of Tetris kind of is Tetris. Now,
Hmm.
there's some big differences that get changed and added in the next 10 years or so. But for the most part, I didn't even, before this episode, I'm pretty sure I could have recorded this without really playing any Tetris. I've played
Hmm.
enough Tetris in my life that it's pretty much right there in my head. But I did. I don't know how much. Again, most of my experience with it would be later versions of the game.
Hmm.
But I am excited to dive into it and talk to you about your experience with it.
Hmm.
Should we start with, again, last week we know, if people listened, you struggled a fair bit with Super Mario Brothers. First question, did you in fact look up an instruction manual for this, or did you decide you didn't need it? Or
I did
forget?
look at the instruction manuals for this. They're very simple. I didn't really need them.
No, there's
Uh,
not too much that's not
yes.
obvious.
Yes. Well, I mean, there are a number of things that might not have been obvious to me if Tetris weren't so frickin' pervasive that I just already knew it, right? Like, the
Hmm.
fact that like, oh, 4 line clears is worth more than three, is worth more than two, is worth more than one, right? It might not occur to me to think of that, and I might not be paying attention to my score until the end. I might just be like, I play until I can't do it, and then I see, how far I got, how high my score is, and it didn't occur to me. That's the sort of
Hmm.
thing that I would overlook as a non-gamer easily. But
I
like,
also, yeah,
yeah.
as a gamer, but someone who is more used to the modern games, and also I'm not a competitive person, and I'm not
Hmm.
really like a score chaser kind of person.
Hmm.
So usually when I play Tetris, I'm just seeing, oh, how long can I last or what level can I get to? I don't think I really internalized before this that you also get more points the faster you drop it, the block as it comes in.
Yes. If you drop the block, I think you get extra points. But I think the real thing is to try to set up Tetrises, is my understanding.
Mhm.
I have looked into a little bit the competitive Tetris community, because in the past like 4 years or something, like it has just absolutely exploded, and I've seen like news stories or things coming out, and it's like there's crazy shit going on in that. It's like unbelievable how much of a revolution it's had.
Yeah, I
For
forget
this
what the
freaking 30 plus year old game.
yeah, the NES version, I know very recently somebody found a way for the first time to surpass a certain score
Mhm.
threshold. I think they
So,
like froze the game or something.
yeah, so even that is like even that's just like one of the more recent things. So I think we all know Tetris speeds up, right? Um and at level what, 19, it hits almost max speed, right? Like it goes ridiculously fast, right?
Sure.
Um And at level 29, it hit a speed that was so fast that you can't hold down the button to put, like, it literally, you can't position pieces anymore. So people would used to do, if you were really good, they'd do something called hyper tapping, where you press left faster than the auto scroll, and you could barely survive on level 29, right? And this was how it was for like 5 to 10 years or something. And before that, just you couldn't play. 29 was a kill screen. But like 4 or 5 years ago or something, somebody just came up with a brand new technique where you put your finger over the button and then you roll your other fingers on the bottom of your controller to effectively move really fast. And all of a sudden, everybody could just, as fast as you could now survive on this speed. And as long as you were good enough to keep clearing lines, you could play forever. And that just unlocked record after record after record, which is what led to, the game freezes at like level 256 or something. So 5 years before people were doing that game freeze, people were only getting a tenth of that. That's just how unbelievably this has exploded. It's something like this. It's
Yeah, I mean,
ridiculous. Yeah.
we can all agree these competitive Tetris players need to get a life. They're huge losers.
I think it's cool.
You would. Of course, that's the thing you latch on to that you love.
Yeah. It's
The
cool.
freaking dorks pulling dumb shit that's not fun at all. That's right, competitive Tetris players. Get laid. Why don't you? This is the only video game podcast where we shame people for being losers and virgins. Anyway, so Tetris. So
Tetris.
like I said last week, I thought Tetris will be easier for him. Like you
Mhm,
said, I knew you have a rhythm game
mhm,
proclivity, and again, unlike Mario, you're only dealing with one thing at a time. You are in complete control of where it moves. It speeds up, but you
mhm.
have some control over how and when it falls down and lands. You're not having to move a camera. You're not having to jump on enemies or over pits or obstacles. There's a reason this game has such mainstream appeal, even with non gamers, because it is very approachable.
Mhm.
So tell me how and why you sucked shit at it.
Um, so one thing that I've found when playing this game that really stood out relative to Mario. I'm glad we did this second for this reason. Um, when I played Mario, I kind of know that most of my issues come with just making the character move and jump, right? And like I just don't know how to frickin' do this, right? But in Tetris, as you said, it's like, yes, I know how to press left or right. I know how to rotate the piece, right? I know how to do all of this, and I know how to do it right off the bat. And so I feel like I'm just doing it, right? I feel like I'm just doing it, and it's not that hard. Um, but I'm not doing very well and I'm not getting very far. When I watch back my footage on Tetris, because, with Mario, it's like, yes, obviously I knew where to jump, I just didn't do it, right? But with Tetris, I start getting to these higher levels and I'm like, oh my God, where do I even put this thing? And I just can't do it and I'm freaking out. When I watch back my footage for Tetris, what I find is I'm like, oh, everything's moving very slowly. Obviously, you should just place the piece there. What were you thinking doing that? Like, this is easy. Like, there's no and I realize probably and this was not it's stark with this game the way it wasn't for Mario. I would say probably as much as 70 to 80% of my concentration, I think, is just on did I press left twice or did I press it 3 times? Is that lined up? Which way do I gotta rotate it? Counterclockwise or clockwise? Which button is that? It's this or this. Like, the sheer amount of my, processing power that is going into consciously positioning these pieces is much higher than I thought it was, just solely based on, like, the unbelievable discrepancy between watching footage and actually playing. And I know it's a bigger discrepancy than you'd normally have because when I did play rhythm games, I would watch back other people playing, or I watched back some of my playthroughs, and it was just like, yeah, I can probably read like 10% better when I don't have to control the game. Oh no, here I'm like tripling or quadrupling my ability to read the game when I'm not controlling it. Clearly there is something very, like, I don't, there's something that you have, I think, from having played a lot of games as a child where, or maybe not you, but maybe not just you, but I think a lot of people have it where it's like, yes, it's so intuitive. You just press this button and it's entirely subconscious. Whereas I think I have yet to get past ever not consciously pressing a button on a controller.
Every time you're just hyper aware.
Yeah, I have to make the conscious decision as to which button I press.
There's a little guy in your brain going, press A now.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Yes, 100%.
I do wonder, and maybe I'm being too charitable, I'll find out. But what to you, maybe you're being too hard on yourself, like, what do you consider doing well at Tetris? Because maybe I have a lower threshold where I'm like, obviously I'm not a pro at Tetris, but I go, I think I did fine. Like, when it started getting really fast, I lose, and that's how it is. And maybe you're like, oh, I should be getting to like level 20 or whatever. And I'm like, I don't know, I got to level 10. Like, that's really fast. I think I feel fine about that. Like, I'm curious if you can remember a level, or even if you have access to it. Yes. I don't know if I can find mine, like what your high score was. Something like that.
Yeah. So I can get into that. I will tell you right now, this is, you are right to question this.
Yeah.
Because this is, like, when I say I'm doing bad, like, the judgment on it really does come from watching back the footage, right? It's not, it's the fact that the gameplay is so straightforward, right? That I can just look at it and be all like, okay, I can just, the fact that I didn't know what I was supposed to do when I play, and I do know when I don't play, is just making it stark how bad I am at controlling it. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I know I'm bad because when I watch it back, I should be better. If I watched it back and I was like, I don't know what to do here, I was just screwed, then I'd be like, I don't know, I think I did okay. Maybe I'm bad, maybe I'm okay. But no, I watch it back and I'm like, Jesus, I suck. What the hell? Why can't I do that? What the fuck? And this also is 100% the type of game that I would do that on, right? Like, Mario is the kind of game where I'm like, yeah, I know I can't jump, so I miss a jump. Oops, oh well, who cares? Whereas this, I'm like, if I ever place a piece somewhere where I didn't mean to, then I'm just like, oh, I suck. I'm ass. I'm dicks. Fuck this game. I'm shit. These are the kinds of games that I'm like that about, these puzzle games and rhythm games. And that's part of what I enjoy about them, to be honest.
You know what I realized? The analogy that I came up with this last week? Because I am thinking, I know you're not a gamer, but it's
Yeah,
Tetris or whatever. You'll get the
right,
hang of it. Like this, you can
right.
handle.
Mm,
And I was thinking about listeners may know at this point that we did a previous podcast where we read books,
mm-hmm,
and in that show, you had read all these books before I was reading them for the first time. So this
mm-hmm.
is like the reverse. But really that's not true. I realized what the equivalent of that would be for this show is if not only had I never read those books before, but also it was the first time I had ever read any books.
Yeah, I'm learning to read.
You are, yes, you're not just studying these games, you're actively learning the language of control, of
Mm-hmm,
how you interact with these things with your fingers and your mind. So
mm-hmm,
it's, I'm really thinking like, man, I know he's bad at platformers, but
mm-hmm.
that's just platformers, and it's sinking in more and more what an uphill battle this is going to be.
No, it's gonna be fun. Well, because here's the thing, like, and I mean, I guess here's the other thing. Like in Mario, you're getting mad when I'm not picking up the obvious power ups, and I'm just like, I don't know, I'm learning to control the character. In Tetris, there are no obvious power ups, so rather than me being like, I don't know, I'm just not thinking about the mistakes. I see all the mistakes, right? Because it's like
Mm.
there's no, you know what I
You
mean? Does that
know,
make sense?
yes,
Yeah, I
yes,
know. I know.
it's much clearer to you
Mhm.
what the strategy should be and what you're not doing versus you don't know there's a mushroom in that block or
Right.
whatever.
Right. I mean, that being said, you're saying you got to level 10. That makes me feel a little bit better. I'll say that.
Okay.
Um,
I mean,
so
the
yeah.
other thing is it is a little hard to quantify. Maybe you
Hmm.
have a better handle on this than me, but because when you can choose a starting level
Yes.
when you play between 0 and 9. So like I have a higher score on a game where I only got to level 7 than a different game where I got to level 10, I think because I started on a higher level. So I'm not sure
Hmm.
how well I can say like, oh, this score means this or that compared to
Yeah.
yours.
Yeah. I mean, very quickly, I was looking at it and realizing, oh yeah, I think I just need to start on on a higher level if I want a high score. So I was like, well, since I'm not getting as far as I clearly should be able to get, um, what I really should be doing is just practicing getting, go back and forth, practice being on super high speeds that are difficult for me so that I get used to it, and then go back and play really easy levels so that I have time to be like, okay, am I actually placing pieces in good locations now that I have time to think, alternate those two, and then like if I want a high score, it's like, okay, time to lock in for a score. You know what I mean? But
Hmm.
I was less concerned with the score and more concerned with just like, can I do anything?
Yeah. Like I said, I don't even know what a good score is or means. I
Hmm.
just know I'm more measuring personally by like getting to a higher level than I got to last time. For
Yeah.
me, that's what's more interesting of a challenge because I
Yeah.
understand
Yeah.
that. Like that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think getting a higher score is something that is probably only really super worthwhile if you want one of the cool little endings, or if you already can play near the max level and you're like, all right, let's see what I can turn this into score wise though.
Yeah. 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 Or if you're playing at home and you want to, you have friends and family and you want your name on that leaderboard.
Hmm. Right.
Did you enter your
On that.
name in your leaderboard?
Yeah, a couple times I did it.
And did you write it? Did you put in Will or what did you
I
write?
did.
Hmm.
I
I put
did.
Quentz, of course.
Right,
There's
of course, yeah.
six characters, so there's just enough space for it.
Perfect. Yeah, so when on my first day of playing this, I could consistently get to level 7, but level 7 was a struggle for me. So I was running it on level 7 and 8 until I got to level 9. Um, on my last day of playing, I was just kind of practicing on so there's a game mode A, which is what we've been talking about. There's also a game mode B
Hmm.
where it starts with different heights of obstacle. Like basically, imagine you fucked up and there's pieces there, and then you just have to clear 25 lines on that level speed.
Right.
Um, so on my final day, I was just trying that on level 9 to see how high of a height I could clear 25 lines on level 9 was. And I did manage to, with a lot of effort on my final day, clear it all the way up to level 9, height 2. Not just
Wow.
height 0, which at first, when I was first doing it, I would not have been able to survive on level 9, from height 0. I just couldn't do it. I'm not on height 1. I survived from height 2, and I cleared 25 lines. I was very proud of myself. So,
Having not reviewed your footage yet, it sounds to me
yeah.
like you're probably perfectly average at Tetris. You're probably
Mhm.
at least as good as I am, is what it sounds like.
I mean, if you can get to level 10 on the NES, you're better than me.
Okay.
But probably not by
But
a
not like
ton.
every time either. Like sometimes I trip up on
Mhm.
8 or 9, it
Okay.
depends. It depends what
Yeah,
blocks I
okay.
get.
Okay, that's good. Like I said, I think a part of it is just seeing my, because I don't know if you watched your footage back, but just seeing my
Nah.
footage back and being like, what is wrong with me? Just put it there, dumbass. It just goes there. Why? What? No, no. What? Don't. What are you doing?
Yeah, it's like watching
um,
Jeopardy versus being on
mhm.
Jeopardy. You know,
Yeah,
there's a
yeah.
different headspace.
Right. But again, I with things that I have played and was decent at in the past, the discrepancy is not this large, right? Which is I think part of what. But yes, I'm much more aware of my mistakes on Tetris. I also will say I still think I have yet to play a game of Tetris in which I didn't accidentally put something where I didn't mean to. Like where I said I'm going to
Hey,
put the piece there and then I put it somewhere else instead by mistake.
happens to the best of us.
Yeah. Well, does it happen on every game?
Yeah, maybe. You never know. Okay, let's find out because
Mhm.
I have my own strategy I use when I play Tetris
Mhm.
that I have no idea. I have never cared enough to figure it out if this is a quote unquote optimal strategy. I don't know if this is how the pros do it. I don't know if it's how anyone does it, if it's like obvious, because this just isn't something, even though I've played a lot of Tetris, I've played my share of multiplayer Tetris here and there. It's not
Mhm.
like it's not like other games where me and my buds are on the playground talking about Tetris. It's always been more of a thing that's, oh yeah, you play that sometimes. It's not there's not really that much to discuss, which is, why are we even here? But
Mhm.
so what I tend to do, what I enjoy doing, I guess, is, and I guess I don't know if it's because I know it's worth the most points or it just feels the best to me. I will tend to build up, as best I can an even field without like any weird gaps in it, while keeping one column clear either on the left or the right, and then waiting for an I block to come, the long straight one. And then ideally by that point, I've built up enough so that I can fill in that one column and get a Tetris, which is a 4-line clear.
Mhm.
Um, and sometimes if an I block comes and I don't have 4 lines built up yet, I won't use it to clear. I'll put it somewhere else, which might not be a good choice. It could be not ideal because now I might get screwed. I didn't take the easy clear because I'm like, no, 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 it's not good enough. I want the Tetris. And I'll do stuff like that. And that's usually my general gameplay flow until inevitably something will get screwed up and then I have to be a little more creative. But that's usually my strategy of things. Is that anything
Mhm.
close to what you do or not? I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
curious.
So that so the thing about that is that is like very clearly the optimal strategy, right?
All
Like
right, it's clear to you, I guess.
because that I thing is the only way you can get a Tetris, right? Otherwise
Right.
you can't get a Tetris. And I did come in already knowing this. Um so when things are easy, That's definitely what I'm trying to do. The higher the speed, the more I'm just like, okay, like on very low speeds, I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to try to wait for there to be a Tetris. Uh, as things start getting built up or the speeds get higher, I start being like, okay, I'm going to try to wait for there to be a Tetris, but I'll do the triple if things are getting dicey.
Hmm.
When things start getting higher, I start being like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
holding out for a double. Right, like it's too fast for me to be building into Tetrises. I'm gonna screw it out, but I'm holding out for that double if I can. And then at the absolute fastest, I'm just like, what's the fastest way I can clear a line? I just need a line cleared. Oh God, I'm gonna die. So I do think like that's probably just normal to be like, if you're very comfortable at the speed, then you're trying to build up and go for a Tetris. And the less safe you feel, the more safe you play, right?
I need a double. I'm
Yeah.
holding out for a double at the end of the line. It's
Hmm.
gotta be long and it's gotta be straight and
Oh.
it's gotta clear
Hmm.
the blocks on time.
You're starting to go in a direction with that.
That was a bonus. I don't think I was. Um, yeah, I think I will definitely when it starts getting any as long as I still have a clear open column, I will try not to put anything in it that's not a Tetris. As soon as
Mhm.
I, for whatever reason, that got covered up by mistake or because I panicked or whatever, then all bets are off and I'm just doing whatever I can to reset back to that position. Usually is
Mhm.
what I'm doing. But okay, yeah, I don't like I said, I don't know. I just don't even know. Like, maybe this is just the way everybody plays. I just never thought about it before.
So I am curious, did you ever try any of game mode B with the obstacles to clear out?
Yes, I did play some of Game Mode B. This is really not like in terms of all the Tetris I've
Mhm.
played, they've added other kinds of modes over the years. I always just default back to the standard endless
Mhm.
mode, usually from I like to play from 0 and just see how far I can get. So Game Mode B, I'm like, it's interesting. It's kind of interesting to try, but I'm more about I like the long game of building up
Mhm.
something and then waiting for that piece to come in. And when it's just like 25 lines and I'm like, oh, I guess it's done. It just doesn't feel as satisfying to me. It does seem like Game Mode B is designed for people who want to try to get a high score. Like that's what you're going
Mm.
for. Um, it's
So
the
I think that that's
fastest you can clear it, right? It's like you get more points
y-
for how fast you do it.
so yeah, well, I think the points are the same. Like
Or
you
how
get
many
more points.
lines
Yeah,
you
you
do
get
it
more
in?
points for yeah, for how high you put the obstacles, you get more points. You get
Right.
more points for the level you're on, but it's still better to get Tetrises and all that sort of thing. I actually found
Mm.
it almost to be the opposite where I really started enjoying game mode B because it felt like the best way to train, right? To get to improve where you would kind of it would kind of just be like, okay, right, let's do level 9 height 2. All right. So when I get to level 9, I've probably screwed up and now I'm desperate to survive. Let's just constantly throw myself into a position where I'm on the highest speed I can handle and I've already screwed up and all I've got to do is survive as long as possible. And we'll just do that over and over until I am comfortable surviving at high speeds rather than panicking because I everything's too high and I don't know what to do. Um, because in that mode, it to me anyway, it felt like, yeah, whether or not you're gonna be able to get those Tetrises can be hard. Whereas you have a lot more ability to just set up and knock down Tetrises in the endless mode. And because it ends after only 25 lines, which is not that many, it feels almost like you're just prioritizing, can I survive? Can I do it at all? Right? What's the highest speed and the highest height at which I can actually complete the level? And spending a lot of time on that and then coming back to a regular game does make the regular game feel much better because you're like, oh man, everything's so clean now. I didn't fuck it up. It's not a disaster where there's holes everywhere all the way up the board. um, and then when you do inevitably fuck it up because you misplace a piece, you're like, it's okay. I've been in this. I just spent the last hour being in this situation. It's okay. I can handle it. Right? You're not like, oh no, what have I done? Now everything is ruined.
Are we discovering that I'm getting the sense, and maybe this is
Mhm.
not correct,
Mhm.
that maybe maybe competitive is not the right word, but you're a little more, maybe the part of the fun for you of a game or any kind of activity in general is your personal, I want to improve. I want to do
Mhm.
well. I want to beat my own score or whatever it is and see how far I can get.
Mhm.
And ironically, you're terrible at video games. So it's a horrible combination. And I'm the opposite, where I'm, good at video games, and I'm generally not really interested in, it depends on the game. I'm not going to say there's not exceptions, but usually my thing is not, let me see how great I can be, because I just
Mhm.
know there's people who are better than me, so I don't really bother with it. I'm more here for the experience, the journey of it. Because I don't know, it sounds like that maybe
Mhm.
describes our takes on these two modes.
I think that could easily be true. Because that is a huge part of my enjoyment with a lot of things, right? I want to not necessarily be good at it, but I mean I want to be good enough at it that I'm happy with my performance, which doesn't necessarily mean good. Improvement often is that. I do when I grew up, I was a competitor, right? Like I grew up competing. I don't know if I brought it up on this podcast, but when I was a teenager, I used to rock climb, and this was
Yeah, we heard.
before it was popular. I would not have been able to compete in the modern day when everybody's good because everybody does it. I only was able to compete because nobody did it, so you were able to suck. But I did compete. I did regularly make it to nationals. It was very important to me that I improve, that I be happy with the progress that I made. And I think I do have a similar mindset with this where I'm like, I want to see progress. I want to see that I'm getting better at this. I want to do as good at this as I can. Um that's not to necessarily say that that would be the case for every video game I played, but I do think that for it not to be the case, the game would have to be heavily um inclined away from that. Like I when I play Minecraft, I'm less interested in that because the game is just so much about atmosphere and experience, right? If I were to play like an endless ocean game, which is a game that intrigues me, but I've never played, I suspect I would not care so much,
Mm-hmm.
because like, what does it even mean to be good? That's not the point,
Well, yeah, I think,
right? But yeah.
and for me, the equivalent of it is because I think I have the same. I mean, everybody, I think, to some extent, has the same thing. You want, when you're playing a game, you want to succeed in some, whatever that
Hmm.
means to you. And
Hmm.
I think for me, it's more like my threshold is, well, I've beaten the game. Like, I've seen all the
Hmm.
content. I got through it, but I don't really care about how well I executed what I did on the way
Mm.
to get there. If that makes sense. Maybe that's the
Interesting. Yeah.
difference.
Yeah, because like yeah, as I said, it's all about like how good are you relative to yourself and your expectations, right? Like if I were really good at Tetris because I'd been playing it since I was a kid and I was just like blowing everyone out of the water, but then I had a game in which I just was playing it like, three quarters what I should be, I'd be like, I suck shit at this game. I'm terrible. Fuck that. Right. But if I'm terrible at this game and then I work really hard at it and then I manage to get to level 9. Oh man, for the first time I do it, I'm like, oh yes, that's great. That's awesome. Right. Because it's better than I expected myself to do,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason for me Tetris has always been, it's a game I enjoy and admire, but it's not my, it's the game, like I said, that I play when I'm waiting in line for something.
Mhm.
It's not the game that I'm like, oh man, I've got 2 hours to kill. Let me sit down and really get into some Tetris.
Mhm. Mhm.
Which maybe, I don't think it is that for most people, to be honest. I think
Yeah.
that's a rarer thing. Most people just see little blocks and go, yeah, it's not 1989. I can I can do
Yeah,
something
exactly.
else.
This is not a game I ever got into, but it is exactly the sort of thing that I could have in a different universe become obsessed with.
Maybe you still could. There's still time.
There's still time.
Now, so because we're not sure which versions of Tetris you've played, if any, prior to this,
Hmm.
you're maybe also not even consciously aware of things that are not in either the NES or Game Boy versions of the game that are now mainstays of the series that, for me personally, do make it a little tougher to go back to these versions.
Interesting. I probably am not. Yeah, tell me about some of these.
Pretty big ones. There's two in particular. One is the ability to do a hard drop. So right now in these versions of the game, when a block comes in from the top, you can either do nothing and just wait and it'll fall on its own, or you can hold down and it will drop faster. Later versions of it have you can press up and it will just immediately fall to the bottom. And that's something I would do a lot when the game is slower, just to like I can see where that's going. I guess along a part of that also, which maybe is a third thing, is later versions will often have like a shadow. So it'll actually show you on the bottom where it's going to land. So you wouldn't make those mistakes that you sometimes make.
Yeah, I was gonna say I would never use that up thing because even on like the slowest speeds, I would press down to get it most of the way there, and then I would release to be like, let's just make sure I'm actually putting it where I'm supposed to, because sometimes I'm not. Yeah, that shadow. Oh man.
That would be a big deal. And I have no idea if that is something that modern players think is too cheap or something like that, but I think it's fine. And it's satisfying to be like, I know where it's going. Bam. I don't need to wait for that. Also, in a way, it might even make it better because if you might make a mistake on the way down. You might accidentally go left or right. Whereas if you're like, no, I know where it's going now, lock it in. Let's go. The other thing, this is the really huge one that really affects things, is pretty much every modern Tetris for the last 20 plus years has had a hold option where when you have a piece falling, you have an option to say, oh, I don't want that piece right now. I'm putting that in a holding cell, and then the next piece comes out. And then at any point, you have another piece in reserve that you can swap to. So when you get in this game, if you need an eye block, you better hope you get it when you need it. In other games, you might get one early and go, I'm going to bank that for later. Or you might get that square or that T shape that just doesn't go where you want it to go right now. So you're like, no. Put that somewhere else for later.
Yeah.
Is that something you were aware of in any capacity?
I think I did, when you said a hold option, it did occur to me. Yes, I think I've seen this happen in some games of
Tell
Tetris.
of such things.
Yes, I've heard tell of such things. Yeah, I suspect that if that's an option, scores get much higher. Because it at that point, it's like, well, now you should just be able to hold pieces to get Tetris every time, right?
Yes, certainly.
Whereas one thing that I was thinking about with this, that I was not very good at, but I was trying to think about it, was like, if I have three places to put this, as such that the next piece, because I can see the next piece, I can see where the next piece is. I know I'm going to put this, if I put this here or here or here, I'll still have a spot for the next piece. But like, how do I keep it open for as many pieces as possible? How do I not get stuck at some point where I just don't have a place, right? Like, because one of these places is probably going to keep my options open better than the others. And I feel like that's a very real and powerful skill to develop that I don't have at all. I was thinking about it and I almost, it was almost just like, I was more thinking about it in the sense of like, I know this is something I should be aware of, but I don't know how to do it.
Yeah,
Maybe I'll try that. Will that work?
I have like a general where like if there's a pit 2 blocks deep,
right?
I'll try to leave the blocks above it on either side open because I don't know if I'm going to get the L or the J. So that way either one could lock in and hang on either side from the top. That might be
Mhm.
incredibly hard to understand
No,
without a
I
visual.
know I
Okay.
know what you mean exactly. Yeah, because that was one of
Okay.
the things I was doing too. Yeah.
Right. So stuff like that I'll kind of do sort of not instinctively, but I'll do that ideally without thinking too hard about it. I really don't honestly look usually at what's coming next, which I
Mm.
probably should, but I'm
Well,
usually
then
just
you're a
like,
much better player than me. If you can play up to level 10 without doing that, then you have a lot more technical skill than I do. Because I was constantly doing that. I was always like very aware of like, and I was also messing it up, especially on the higher levels. I was constantly not leaving space for the next piece, but trying to be aware of where I was going to do it.
I guess,
It's
yeah,
just yeah.
maybe I am better at finagling my way out of bad
Uh-huh.
situations.
That could be, yeah.
So for me, I'm like, it might screw me up, but I also just don't have the I don't know, or don't want to commit the mental energy to thinking about that. I'm like, I got this one right now,
Not
that one'll
not
come.
looking at the next one to me, I said it makes you better, but maybe it's like the argument you
Yeah,
were making in Mario where
right,
it's like that's like not using the fire flower, that's being bad at Tetris even if you're
right.
good enough to get away with it.
Yeah, for sure, a pro player is glancing at that.
Uh-huh.
I think I'm just not.
I mean, I think a pro player probably is exclusively looking at that. They've already figured out
Right.
where this piece is, but
Right. Yeah, they know it in advance and they're figuring that
yeah.
next thing out. And also something I read about this version is in later versions of the game, it's much less random. You're
Mm.
much more likely to see every shape
Mm.
every so often. And in this version of the game, I don't know if it's truly random, but it's much closer to truly random where you might literally go
Mhm.
50 pieces without seeing the one you need.
Mhm. I kind
So
of like
that's
that
something
better.
else.
I kind of like it just being absolutely brutal. Like, oh, you didn't leave space for just in case you got the same piece 5 times in a row. Fuck you, then. You
Yeah, but
should have thought of that.
it sucks so much though. When I get like 4 eye blocks in a row, the one time I don't need them, I'm like, stop giving these to me. Save that for later.
I
And
mean, the
then
the worst was if you have one of those like S blocks or whatever, the little, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
If you accidentally put yourself in a position where you can't place them without like hanging a block, and then you get 5 of the
Mm.
same one in a row, and you're like, oh no, what have I
Yeah.
done?
Or you try to, hook one underneath, but
Mhm.
it doesn't always quite work. That's the other thing I will say. I didn't play any other versions of Tetris this week to compare, but I
Mhm.
feel pretty sure this is true from my memory that I think both the Game Boy and NES ones, are much less forgiving in how much time you have from the block landing to the block freezing in place. I
Oh,
think
interesting.
later versions, you can, as long as there's some versions at least, where as long as you keep rotating it, it will never freeze in place. Like you
Mm.
have almost infinite time to just hammer that A button until you know where you want it to go, and it will let you do that. Or if you're moving it back and forth, it won't stop unless you let go of any button for like a second. And here, it does
Mm.
not give you that leeway. That thing hits the ground, you're done. Like you maybe have
Yeah.
half a second to move it, and that's
No
it.
way you have half a second.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
no, I
mean,
didn't notice any time that like once it hit the bottom, you were pretty much done basically, unless
so
you were already moving it when it when it dropped down. Yeah.
which I
Um.
guess it's more pure that way, but for me personally, I feel like later versions I get more enjoyment out of having a little more wiggle room in that way.
mm. I mean, I probably would feel better if I had more of that, and I'd do better. But I do like from a just just like in theory, in my brain, I do appreciate it just being absolutely brutal and unforgiving and like, nope, fuck you, you fucked up, you're bad at the game, you lose now. Try again. I do like that. Like as much as I was constantly posting like I'm so bad at Tetris at you, like the reason that this is the kind of game that would get me is that I do enjoy that mental situation of being like, ugh, I suck. Try again. Another attempt. Ugh, I suck. Another attempt. I like that.
I'm so curious though, because I never once thought I suck,
Mm.
but I also but
Well,
I think
that's what gets you pumped up. It gets you fired up.
I think that in some other games, I don't think of Tetris as being difficult. And
Mhm.
like the point where it obviously there's a point where it becomes difficult.
Right.
But to me, to me that's not a wall to go
Mm.
or like something to go over.
Mm.
To me, I'm just like, well, that's when the game ends. Like
Yeah,
that's when I'm done.
For me, I just want to play on that level constantly until it's not a wall anymore. Again, this comes from the climbing thing. This comes from being like, I worked the same series of 8 moves for 4 months straight until I could do it. Right? I just constantly tried that. Maybe one day I just did one movement for like 4 hours straight and I never got it. And then I came back the next day and I got it. Right? And every time being like, I'm bad, that's just the setup so that when you get it, you can be like, I'm the greatest. Right?
Yeah. Well, you have the heart of a gamer. Which block is your favorite?
Which block? Definitely.
We should say Tetramino, actually.
Which Tetramino? The T, I guess.
Because
I found that one the easiest to fit, no matter what I did. No matter how badly I screwed up the board, I could pretty much always find a place that went.
It's versatile.
Yes. It's
how about
my get out of jail free card.
The L's and J's, do you ever like to put them down on their side, or do you like to stand them up? You know what I mean? Sometimes you get a fresh start. You want a square on the side. Yeah, you want one of them next to it.
If everything's nice and even, you probably lay them down flat. Sometimes if you just have a space too wide and you just need that line cleared, you'll lay them down standing up just to, even though now you've got that stupid pillar, just because it's one lower and I'm about to die, that sort of thing.
I think of Tetris as such a basic game where initially, and we'll see how, obviously we'll include some of your gameplay footage and mine, but there was a point where I said, is there even a point to that? Because like, can you really tell one person's Tetris gameplay from another person's at a certain point? And I actually think maybe I wasn't giving the game enough credit, or maybe people enough credit, that I think there is a surprising amount of self-expression that you can have in how you play this game. The same way, like, a chess grandmasters could tell, oh, that's that person's play. Like, there are little ways that you can play this game that kind of, only that person always uses this block in that way or that way. That it's cool for a game that on the surface is so simple that it does have that level of depth, which I guess is obvious to say about a game that's had this long a lifespan, but
no, I think that is correct. That, especially if you were good, like legit good at Tetris, you almost certainly would be able to pick up on very minor, subtle differences and be like, oh, that's an interesting choice. That's characteristic of this person or whatever.
Yeah. Do you think they have like maneuvers named after them?
Good question. Maneuvers named after them. I don't know.
Speaking of maneuvers, I wonder if you've ever heard this term before. T-spin.
I've heard of a T-spin.
So a T-spin, to the best of my knowledge and ability to explain it, is when you take one of those T-blocks and there will be... I don't know if I'm really going to be able to explain this in a clear way, so people will just have to look it up. But there'll be like a space that the T block wouldn't normally be able to fit right into, but you can rotate it at the last second in such a way that it almost like skips through a gap where it shouldn't really be able to fit. Because you just rotate it like right at the last point, and then it fits perfectly into a thing. And then there's even double T-spins or triple T-spins. I'm not sure how far it goes. If you rotate it multiple times, I think there's also mini T-spins, which is a lesser version of it. Now, in this game, at least in the NES version, it's A, very, very hard to do them, and
Yeah,
B,
I did try to do something like that. I never succeeded.
yeah, and B, more importantly, there is no reward for it.
Mhm.
Whereas in later versions of the game, you actually do get more points for doing
Mm.
that. It's a thing the game recognizes and says, "Good job, you T-spun."
Well, you do get a reward for it in this game, which is you fucked up and you made an uncompletable row, and you're gonna have to knock out like 3 rows before you can fix it. But now that's not true because you T-spun into it, so now it's just nice again.
Yeah,
That's your
I guess.
reward.
No, it's not good enough. I need a
I mean,
blue
I feel
ribbon.
you. It's not like a real reward. It's more just like you're not fucked anymore.
What now? So again, we played specifically the NES and Game Boy versions of the game.
Hmm. I did notice you're talking about the games being very unforgiving or whatever. I did notice that the for as far as the same numbers went, the Game Boy version was a lot easier, I think.
Yeah,
Um
I agree. I don't know if I really I thought easier. I think you're right, but I
mhm,
definitely thought it feels a little snappier, a little smoother. It feels
mm,
a little easier in the sense, at least, of
okay.
like accessibility. I thought it felt more reactive to what I was doing.
That's
Uh,
interesting because what I thought I that could be true. But maybe I'm just so sloppy at the controls that I wouldn't notice if it was more reactive or not, right? Like my own variance is too high. What I noticed was that at the same level, pieces seemed to fall slightly slower, and very importantly, line clears took way longer. Like if you cleared a line and it flashes for the line to clear, it takes a long time. So you almost have this ability to be like, okay, I'm about to clear a line. Cool. That means I can take a breath, right? I can take a
mm,
breath, reset, figure out what I'm going to do because I just cleared a line. Whereas on the NES, like it didn't flash for as long, so that really didn't give you much of anything. And it made it much like I did get to level 10 on the Game Boy, which I was not able to
mm.
do. And I think I cleared what did I clear? I have notes here because I was making timestamps for you. I made it all the way to in game mode B. I cleared level 9 height 4 on on the uh,
Wow.
on the Game Boy. And I did it, I think, largely off the strength of being able to just like stop and take a breath every time I did anything.
Well, I imagine it's a couple of things.
Hmm.
One being that the NES has more processing power to it,
Hmm.
so it's able to go faster without crashing.
Hmm.
And B, that the Game Boy screen just is obviously smaller. And
Mm.
so they want to, like, probably the blocks are the proportions, and maybe even
Yeah.
the size of it, like how many rows there are. I don't know that to be true. It's probably not. Don't quote me on that. But they kind of made it a little chunkier or something so that's easier for people to see on that
That
screen.
that would make a lot of sense to me if that was the case. Yeah. I mean, I didn't think this was a bad thing. I really did kind of like that the idea of like, hey, I cleared a line. I get a reward for clearing a line, which is that the game like flickers for a moment and gives me a chance to reassess. As opposed to, I
Mm.
don't know. It felt like a little reward to me.
Yeah, and that's nice.
Yeah.
And I think the Game Boy has multiple advantages over the NES. Really, the big one of the
Hmm.
NES version is simply that it's in color, and it's kind of cool when you change levels that the colors change.
Yeah, I did think that was fun. I liked that.
And I guess it's also easier to differentiate at a glance because the blocks are different colors as opposed to you have to make out the patterns and
Mm.
stuff. It takes like 4% more brain power or something. Um, but the Game Boy version, obviously, for being portable, I think a huge win for Tetris. That's really what you want with the game like this.
Hmm.
And most importantly, the NES version of the game does not have the famous classic Tetris music. You can
Yes,
pick
I
a few
fucking
different
hated that.
songs. One of them is like Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy or something.
Hmm. That's by
And
far the best.
yeah, that's the only one I would really use.
I
The other
I
ones, I don't
tried all
know.
three of them. That's by far the best.
It's all like, the creator of the game is Russian. So it's all this like Russian classical music. The Tetris song everybody knows is called Korobeniki. Don't know how you say it. It's from the 19th century, and it's just this random, presumably public domain song that they picked and will forever now be associated with Tetris. And it's just not as good without that song. Anytime any Tetris game is like, which song do you want to hear? The one.
The
I want to hear
Tetris
the one
song.
song. What are you talking about?
The song that I know as the Tetris song, despite not being a gamer.
Yeah, it's the best song. I mean, it really is just the perfect song, and it sounds good when it's sped up, and it gets tense, but it's catchy. It sticks in your head. I wonder how much of the game's success, honestly, is probably not that much. I think the game would be a success no matter what music they picked, but that certainly didn't hurt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that helps a lot, I think.
Like that, the whole concept of this game sort of living in your brain when you're not playing it, that adds to the effect 100%. So overall, I don't know. There really are still very similar. It's not like I think for future games, there's certain games where we might even split up different versions on different platforms. But Tetris just kind of is Tetris. Yeah. At the end of the day.
I'm still happy to have played the Game Boy thing, because if I hadn't played that, I would not have been able to play Tetris with the Tetris song, and I would have been sad.
Yes, that really does. You do lose a lot from that. Of course, on a true Game Boy screen, you'd also get the green tint. That adds something too.
It's like the Matrix.
For my money, and I think a lot of people feel this way, the best version of Tetris is the Nintendo DS Tetris, which also Nintendo helped produce and has Nintendo music and sprites and all kinds of fun stuff like that in it too. It was just one of the most like feature complete versions of it. And but for the most part, again, Tetris just is Tetris. Now, there are other versions of Tetris. There's also Tetris multiplayer, which is another thing the Game Boy game has that the NES version does not. Mm-hmm. Have you ever done a competitive multiplayer Tetris or other puzzle game?
Not that I'm aware of.
Do you know about garbage?
I am aware of the crap that you throw away.
I'm not talking about this podcast.
I know the band.
I'm only happy when it's lines. I'm only happy when I'm getting Tetris.
Right.
Hey, I bet that you did not expect this.
That's not bad.
Man,
these are gonna have
stop.
Yeah. I'm wondering now. I'm wondering, because if you give them a song parody this week, I guess you'll have to listen to the end to find out if you actually get one. Then I feel like you're spoiling our listeners at that point.
I'm gonna cut.
They don't deserve all of this.
They don't. By no means do they deserve, honestly, any of it. But in the multiplayer mode, when you clear a line, the other person gets blocks on their screen. So it's a competition where you can screw the other person up. If you clear more lines faster, you'll make it harder for them. And that's kind of fun.
That is kind of fun.
We could have found a way maybe to play against each other. Maybe we'll do that for a bonus on our other channel. Maybe.
We can't do bonuses every week. That's too much.
Listen, it might not be this week. The people will have to tell us if they want that. I'm tired.
So one thing we haven't really talked about yet is some of these screens that show up, like when you beat the game or whatever, or lose the game, I guess is what you actually call it, and then you get like screens for scoring.
Yeah, and there's a little rocket that takes off.
Yeah, so I actually have a link for you, if you.
Link. Are you talking? I thought we were playing Tetris, not Zelda.
Well, guess what? Link is on one of them in the NES version.
What?
Yeah. So okay. So just
I'm being
if you're
schooled
playing
right now.
if you're playing game type A, I'm sure you noticed this. If, at the end, if you get a high enough score, you get, the Kremlin and like a spaceship. And I guess you get different spaceships depending on how high your score is. And I guess they're all real, except for this UFO. They're all like actual Soviet space shuttles or whatever. And I only ever got the first one because I didn't get a high enough score. Oh well. But if you play the B type ending, okay, on or the B type
Whoa.
game, then you get different endings depending on what level you played on. So you can get dragonflies, doves, penguins, UFOs, pterodactyls, blimps, ostriches, dragons, or Buran shuttles, and they will fly past the screen, and that's dependent on what level you are for the first 0 through 8. If you beat level 9 on the NES, then the ending screen will give you Nintendo characters playing instruments, which was why it was so important to me on the final day after I found this out. I was like, I gotta go back and beat level 9 on game mode B so that we can have some footage of these Nintendo characters. So this is why it was so important to me at the end on the final day to get some level 9 game mode B gameplay, because I needed to get those Nintendo characters and the ending.
Wow. And who did you see?
So because I was able to clear it up to height 2, I got to see Kid Icarus.
That's Pit.
Pit in parentheses.
Right. I mean, his
Would
name
not have-
is Pit.
Sure. Would not have had any idea who the hell this was. It just looks like a guy to me. Link, and so Pit's playing a violin. Link is playing a flute, and I got to see Samus playing a cello.
I had no idea this was a thing.
Yeah.
I love it.
If I could have gotten one more height, I could have gotten Donkey Kong on a bass drum.
The sprite in this picture of Bowser is insane. He looks fucked up and terrifying. He's playing the accordion. And then I like the best one you can get is Princess Peach is just watching. She doesn't get to play an instrument.
Yeah, Mario and Luigi, I guess they're like dancing and jumping and she's clapping.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I guess they don't get to play an instrument either. Well, that's now if I had known that, now I have something to strive for. Now I get it. Now there's a reward. That's not just a number on my screen.
Yeah.
That's
so
what
now
I
you got to
need.
go back and try to beat level 9 game mode B on height 5.
I need something tangible. This also makes me feel a little better now that I'm looking at it. So my top score I achieved was somewhere in the low 70,000s.
Okay.
Which I'm
Way
seeing
higher than
now
mine.
is like the highest, the next highest reward screen is 100,000, and then the one after that is 120,000. So I'm like, oh, so I'm like, in spitting distance of the second best, maybe not spitting distance, but like I could feasibly see myself getting 100,000. I'm like, okay, like now I have a sense of where I stand in the hierarchy of Tetris scores.
You're almost to the final victory screen.
I could be on my way. Yeah. The Russianness of this game is something to consider. And it really is a fascinating thing that someone who knows more than I do maybe could talk about. But it's certainly, we think of video games, especially silly abstract ones like this, as being apolitical and just kind of existing as an amusement with no real bearing on culture or society. But there's certainly something going on with the fact that this comes out at this time, right, with the Soviet Union falling and all this shit. And even the guy who created the game had to, in order to get it published outside of Russia, he did all the kind of these weird backdoor deals because the Soviets had this, they had weird copyright laws where it was hard to really get ownership of something you created. And the fact that it became such a success in America at a time when people were, crazy as it is to believe now, not so keen on the Russians. I don't know. Like I said, someone smarter than me who knows more about world history could probably talk about that.
I wonder if like tankies hate this game or something.
I don't know. I think this is the great uniter.
Okay, sure. It makes sense. Nothing is apolitical. There's your lesson.
Exactly.
No such thing as apolitical art.
So I think this podcast is good since we said that.
Right. Yeah, that makes us smart.
I planned on it at one point and then never got around to it and canceled my plans. But I never watched the Tetris movie they made, which was about the guy creating Tetris, which I heard embellished it very much and made it seem much more exciting than it actually was.
Okay, so this is like a real movie about the guy who made it and not like...
Yes. It's not
like the Emoji Movie.
Right. It's not that each block, the S block is mad all the time.
Right.
The I block is like the cool one, and the T block has to learn to be as cool as him. Yeah, it's not that. But if we ever get a Patreon up and running, I'm sure we'll watch the Tetris movie.
Sure.
And see how that goes. Anything else? Any final thoughts you want to commit right now about Tetris before we get to our final scores?
Well, once again, we forgot to talk about the cover at the beginning of the episode.
God fucking damn it. Fuck.
But other than that...
Fuck. Shit. All right. That's the last time. From now on, we always start with the box.
We will. Yeah, we will remember from now on.
So the cover of this guy, I think the Game Boy version is just a smaller version of the same picture, right? I don't know if you have eyes on that.
I think that's right. Yeah, what I'm looking at, I think was for both.
Yeah, this cover is a blue background with Tetris pieces falling towards the bottom of the screen like you'd see in the game, but you're seeing it at a bit of an angle, like from underneath, and there's more dimension to the blocks. You can see
like
here
the Star Wars credits.
Yes, that's perfect. It is just like the opening crawl. This is an awesome cover. This rules.
Yeah, these pieces are flying at you. It's very dynamic.
Like, it's not as easy maybe as you'd think it in your head, I don't think, to make the concept of Tetris exciting and interesting on a box art for someone who doesn't know what it is already. And this accomplishes it without doing much. It is showing you what the game provides, but something about it, the lines coming behind it, showing you the speed of it, makes it seem really interesting and exciting. It also, of course, makes no sense. There's many pieces falling at the same speed at the same time, which is not what would happen in the game. But the box would look kind of stupid if there was just one block at the top.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, though, looking at this, it's pretty easy to start being like, okay, well, how should I be moving all of these pieces to make them fit together with each other?
Yes. It's impossible not to. There's a reason that effect exists. Like you... And there are many games that are like this. I think puzzle games are one of the biggest ones, where when you play a ton of them, you just start looking around in the world and you just start seeing pieces fit into places. It's hard not to. It's very addicting. Even though, I don't know, I'm not that addicted to it. It also says at the bottom of this box, from Russia with fun.
Yeah, I was going to say, I love this.
They're leaning into it. Like they're having fun.
They sure are. Yeah, on the back here it says the Soviet game sensation.
Yeah. That's good.
They had to be self-aware, because if they weren't, everyone would be like, this Tetris game, it's Russian propaganda. It's the Soviets. They're corrupting our youth.
Yeah, you don't want Tucker Carlson
right
grilling you about the origins of your secret game.
Jerry Falwell or whoever was doing it back then.
Sure. Geraldo, maybe. Gene Shalit. And then at the top, the catchphrase here, or the slogan is, the relentless building block video puzzle.
I don't like that one as much.
It's so many words to describe what it is.
Video puzzle. What
It's
an
so
odd phrase.
funny because they just didn't have the vocabulary yet to describe what this is. Like, I don't know what you would define necessarily. I didn't research if this is technically the first puzzle game, but I think it kind of is. Like, it defined what we came to think of as a puzzle game forever. Like, yeah, they just, I don't know. It's like a puzzle, but it's on a screen. That's how we'll get people. And it's relentless.
It is
That's
relentless.
also
It never ends until you lose.
Yeah. Which I guess that was more in line. People were probably much more accustomed to that because that really was most like arcade games at the time was just high score chasers. I don't know. Also the name Tetris. It's you can't do better than that. But can you do better than this game? So if we're going to give our IGN ratings to Tetris, this is really hard because are we specifically rating the Game Boy and NES versions of Tetris? Because I could also almost see just giving a rating to Tetris, period, as a concept.
Yeah, Tetris, but like bare bones version. You know what I mean? Not any of the add-ons.
Yeah, and I also don't know. This is somewhere that people will maybe have to email us because I don't know. Do we do another Tetris episode down the line? Do we play Tetris DS? Do we play some other future Tetris? Or have we kind of exhausted all of that we need to say about it in this episode? That's something maybe we decide later on.
Yeah, I don't think we have it on the schedule for a long time. So just, let us know. But
so what do you think?
So it's really hard on this. Especially because now I have 1 point of comparison and it's just a completely different game in a completely different genre.
And that is going to be the case for you for a while, I think.
Yes, it is. Tetris. So, the thing is, this is the sort of game that could, in a different universe, get a higher score than Mario, because it could, in a different universe, be the kind of game that I get completely obsessed with. However, we don't live in a universe where I have gotten completely obsessed with Tetris yet. So it's hard for me to say that I like it better than Mario, which is getting credit for Goombas, which I love. You know what I mean? It's getting credit for bloopers. It's getting credit for the Mario riff, which, even if I give credit to Tetris for the Tetris song, I do like the Mario songs better, right? That being said, the fact that this game could be the sort of thing that pulls me in, the fact that this is the sort of thing that really gets me into playing it does make me want to rate it rather highly relative to Mario.
Wow.
Perhaps I'm going to say, I don't think I'm going to quite put it at Mario. I'm going to give this an 8.8, I think, for a final score on Tetris.
The Jeff Gerstmann Twilight Princess.
Sure. I guess it could also be a Nazi dog whistle. That's not my intention, but
well,
now that you really said what I was going for.
Back in the day, there was a huge upheaval on the internet when GameSpot gave The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess an 8.8, and everyone was outraged because they thought that was way too low for a new Zelda game.
Well, you'll come to learn. You'll see what the threshold is for getting a 9, and then you won't be so upset with me, maybe.
I think that's fine. I think that's a perfectly fine and fair score. And did you say, so for you are really, this is the only Tetris you have experience with, is these two versions. If you were forced to, would you change your rating for either one, or would you just settle them both at an 8.8?
Um, I don't think that I played. They feel similar enough to me, and I don't think that I played them both enough to really get a sense. If I had to pick a favorite, it's probably the NES, just because I like the colors, I like the characters, but I also do like the fact that I don't know. The Game Boy gives you the song, and if I actually had it on a
Mhm.
Game Boy, yeah, maybe I like the Game Boy better if I can play it on a handheld, and if I get they're close. I don't know that I have a preference.
The Game Boy does also have another mode, the multiplayer mode. So it is technically more fully
True.
featured.
True, yes, which I did not experience.
They kind of really do both work perfectly in tandem, honestly. Like they both came out the same year, and I think that's the best way to have experienced this is when you're at home you play NES, you're on the go you play the Game Boy one.
Mhm.
Which so I think it's fine honestly to just combine them and say it's one experience. It should be
Yeah.
one package.
Yeah.
Um
Perhaps
yeah.
if I end up playing more Tetris in my spare time, I will revise this score up, but if it doesn't ever
Yeah.
grab a hold of me that way, that's where we are.
So I'm not like a Tetris super fan or anything like that.
Mhm.
And as I said, I prefer the later versions just because obviously like they feel better to play. They really refined a lot of the mechanics and decisions. And yet at the same time, not if you were not aware, if you're just judging this for the time it came out, this game is very very well designed. It's very elegant. The fact that he came up with I'm going to do something with the blocks that have four components, right? Every piece in this game is made up of 4 blocks. And there's 7 of them in total, and that's because those are all 7 possible
Mhm.
combinations with 4 blocks. And the fact that the game works perfectly and he didn't have to go, oh, this block doesn't really work, or you know what, I actually need a 5 block in there to balance it. Like it just works as is with the fundamentals that math and geometry gave us.
Mhm.
There's something amazing and beautiful about that. And this is one of those rare video games that transcends gamer culture. I do think this is on the level of chess or Sudoku. Or Go or something. It's this thing that feels like it has existed forever or could have existed. You know, obviously there weren't video games, but like in the 14th century, somebody could have made these shapes and cut them out of wood or stone or something and like made you fit them into pieces. Like it feels like this universal thing that transcends the barriers of technology and time. Is that too much to say?
No, it on that note, I'm surprised we didn't really get into it, but like this is exactly the sort of thing that, would predate Tetris in the sense, and probably does, in the sense of like you make wooden cutouts, but now you have to fit them into a square type of puzzle. And it's
Yeah, yeah.
exactly the sort of like weird, you can imagine like before there were video games or the internet, nerds would sit at home and make puzzles or whatever, and maybe some of them would just like this, and you could go on to do a career in like the 50s or whatever. If you didn't like model trains, maybe you would make little math geometry puzzles. And I suspect that this guy probably had a lot of experience with those actual physical things to have this, to come up with this.
Yes, in fact, I can tell you, he said he was inspired by pentomino puzzles,
Okay. Hmm.
which Wikipedia tells me the earliest set of them was published in 1907, which is pretty
Hmm.
late for what we're talking about. I don't. He decided he wanted to go to 4 because I don't know. He was like, "Who wants 5? That's too many."
Yeah, maybe you didn't have enough space in the memory to put in that many
Yeah,
iterations of pieces.
I guess he said it was too complicated because there would
Hmm.
be more shapes, and he was
Yeah.
like, "Eh, it's a bit too many." Um, but anyway, yes, it has that feel to it, and it just is like there's nothing in this game that I can point to and say, yeah, that if only they had fixed this. Like the same way again. Like I mean, I could complain about chess too. Maybe it's more like checkers because checkers is much simpler. Chess does have sort of more complexities to it. Like there's no point. I'm not going to look at checkers and go, you should be able to move a piece left and right instead of just diagonally or whatever. It's like, no, that's the game is the game, and it's just kind of perfect in the incarnation it's in. Even with the additions later on that I prefer, the version that existed in the 80s was still exactly what it needed to be. And it's hard for me not to rate this on that basis of I'm more thinking of Tetris as like an ethereal concept than thinking about these specific versions of Tetris. Because there's so many similarities between them. And for that reason, I think I got to give Tetris a 10.
Yep, that's fine. That's fine. Listen, I think that's again going based off of our ratings, where you're sort of giving it an abstract, more objective score, and I'm giving it what was my experience of playing it. Like, how much do I personally like it? I think a 10 is pretty much the only reasonable objective score if you're trying to go for like in game's history. How good is this game? Like, it is the puzzle game. How could it not be a 10, right?
Yes, and also in contrast to Super Mario Brothers, it a modern Mario game is very different from that game, and a modern Tetris game is not that different from this game. It has maintained for all these years with minimal alterations. If you went back in time and gave a kid in the 80s Super Mario Odyssey, they would shit themselves and their brains would explode. They'd be like, this is the most insane shit. Am I on acid right now? What the fuck is this? And if you went back to the 80s and gave a kid a new version of Tetris, they'd just be like, yeah, I have this at home. Like, this is not that big a deal. And I think that's just points to how remarkable the design is, that there's just really not that much to improve on there. It's just kind of perfect, and it's lasted as long as it has because everybody pretty much agrees that it's perfect. So yeah, I gotta go with that 10, baby. What can I say? I like video games.
I'm excited for your first non-10. That's when we know we've got the bad games.
Yeah, I mean, I do think there's some non-10s coming up, but I won't say what they are.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I could see non-10s starting to come pretty soon. There was no way you weren't going to give Mario a 10, and like, how are you not going to give Tetris a 10 on your scale?
Yeah, and I would even say Tetris is more deserving of a 10 than Mario. Maybe more deserving than like any other game we're ever going to talk about, honestly. Like it's Tetris. It's fucking Tetris. There's just, what are you going to do? What do you want?
Yeah, well, with me you don't get what you deserve. That's not how it works with me, baby.
Oh, you get what I give you. You are different from Joker.
Right, yeah. Well, that's because I'm not a true gamer yet. I haven't been Joker-fied by you.
That's what we're building towards. That's what we're hoping to eventually get to. Yeah, I mean, Tetris probably goes without saying, but it's sold many, many millions of copies. It's had many, many rip-offs over the years, some of which we will probably play. Stuff like Puyo Puyo, Dr. Mario. We'll get to those at some point. And we'll see how you fare at those. What should we do next? We actually have an email I could read this week.
Well, you can't do the email before you give me some reviews. I want to hear what other people had to say about Tetris. Isn't that the normal segment now?
Right. Well, I was kind of trying to pivot from it because I didn't really look at any.
Oh, okay. Well, then we don't. They probably all say it's great. At which that's boring. Some of them probably say it's too boring, it sucks, and we'll just say that those people are dumbasses. And yeah, all right, cool. Segment over.
Yeah.
We have an email though, or
Listen,
emails? Did you say?
According to Wikipedia, it won 3 Software Publishers Association Excellence in Software Awards.
Wow. Excellence in software. That sounds cool and fun.
Yeah. Entertainment Weekly called it the 8th greatest game in 1991.
Like from the year or of all time?
I think of all time.
Okay.
So as of 1991, it was number 8, according to Entertainment Weekly. Who the fuck's listening to them for video games? That's not.
Well, we better play those other 7, or else I'm gonna feel like you are, you're denying me my right as a new gamer.
Yeah, I wonder what the other 7 were. I don't know if we'll ever find out.
Mario might be one.
Yeah, it could be. What the fuck? This list is... I'm looking at the list right now. Is this in order? In descending order. Well, that's...
Okay.
Wait,
well, that
what?
would change things, yeah.
Oh, no. No, that's still... This is ridiculous. So according to Entertainment Weekly in 1991, the greatest game of all time... Oh, sorry. It says in stores this season. But then this list isn't even... This is nothing. This list is meaningless. Why is this on Wikipedia?
Because they needed a source. Somebody gave them a real bit of information, and someone was like, citation needed. So then they found this shit.
Well, now I have to tell you their number 1 was Sonic the Hedgehog. Which we'll be playing later this season.
Maybe I'll like it best. Maybe I'll become a Sonic head after this.
Also
I'll
on this
develop
list,
like 10 new fetishes by mistake.
Zelda, Mario 2, ToeJam and Earl right behind Tetris. Right above Tetris is a game called Checkered Flag.
This list doesn't sound correct.
A racing game for the Lynx console.
I don't know about all this.
Number 5 is Faceball 2000.
What the fuck?
Don't know what the fuck that is.
Maybe Tetris is so low because they're all like, yes, it's number 8 on shelves right now because you probably already own it and don't need to go buy it.
Yeah, right. They're like,
still that high
because
you might need another copy, but
well, they didn't know at the time if it would stand the test of time or if this was a flash in the pan sort of thing.
But you're reviewing it. Like your job is to make a prediction on that and be right.
Well, take that up with Bob Strauss, writer of this
Bob
article.
Strauss.
Enemy number 1 of this podcast. Anyway, we got an email this week.
Eating crow when I give this an 8.8 and I start giving all those games higher scores.
Do we need a jingle? Do you want to sing something to read emails on this show?
What would our jingle be? We could put in like a little video game,
yeah,
like a select sound effect or something. I don't know.
Right. We could call it reading the manual. No, we could call it the help center, like the Nintendo help hotline or whatever they used to do.
Be like,
beetle,
boop, boop. That's the sound it makes when we get our email.
We got our first email ever on the show this week sent into badwithgamespodcast@gmail.com from an old friend of ours, Gwen.
Gwen, it's our old friend Gwen.
Everyone knows and loves Gwen.
I think we're her favorite video game podcast, right?
Well, let's see.
Definitely not third. That can't be
Gwen.
right.
Gwen says, "Hello, BWG guys." Clunky. That needs work. Just wanted to thank you for a great podcast. It's genuinely one of the top 2 gaming podcasts I've listened to.
Yeah! We're moving up the ranks.
Which isn't saying much considering the only other one is Sterling Era Podtoid, aka the podcast that was barely about video games.
So we're 2 out of 2, is what you're saying.
Yeah. I never listened to this show, although I'm aware of it. The amount of background you give to the games really helps contextualize them in a larger historical context. And I appreciate Will's naive newcomer angle. You make my days at work easier, especially since I'm going through the Patreon bonuses of your previous show. That's the Yerky Boys for the uninitiated. With regards to Tetris, it's always been mildly amusing to me that the game is only good with tetramino pieces. Trominos is unplayably easy, and pentominoes is unplayably hard. Yours, Comrade Gwen. And Gwen included a link to, I guess, a playable web version of pentominoes. Somebody made a Tetris, but with 5-sided pieces or 5 block pieces.
It does sound really hard. I was earlier on when you were talking about it, I was like, all right, let me iterate all of the different distinct shapes, and it's a lot.
Yeah, I'm playing it right now in my browser. Should I be
on pod? Wait until we're done.
Oh, it's kind of fun.
What are you doing?
Oh, these shapes are a whole different thing. Wow, this really changes the game. This is nuts.
Does it now? It changes the game. Is that right?
The game has changed, my friend. Anyway, Gwen adds, P.S. Included, you should find my obsessively organized game rec list. While Jonathan approached the 700 list as if he was going for the Criterion Collection, I went with more of a National Film Registry perspective. You know, how alongside Apocalypse Now and Empire, they've got Let's All Go to the Lobby and the Zapruder film. So Gwen has submitted to us, as we requested, a list of game recommendations for us to cover in the future. And good golly, is it detailed. Gwen sent us, this is an Excel spreadsheet, much like ours, of a list of 53 games.
Okay.
Which are organized with name, developers, year, and also marked by whether or not Gwen thinks they are historically important, culturally, aesthetically, or just something she really likes, along with notes on many of them. And some of them are also color-coded to be games that we probably already have on our list or ones that we probably weren't going to cover at all.
This is exciting.
And I will say there's a lot of great recommendations on here. Some we did already have, some we didn't, that I think are great recommendations. A few that I don't really know anything about, so I will definitely look into them and add them to the list for some point in the future. I'm not sure exactly when, but we will definitely keep an eye on them, and I'll try to remember which ones you recommended if we come to that, to shout you out. But anyone else can do the same thing and send us your recommendations at badwithgamespodcast@gmail.com. I suppose we could also respond to what else was in this email, just how good we are.
Yeah, we're the best.
And that 5 pieces is too many.
I think we've done our part.
Yeah, I think we've done our part. Well, I put a little something together that I think might make you feel better about your time struggling with the game of Tetris.
Oh man, I hope it makes me feel better.
It might make you feel better. Would you like to hear it as a way to close out our show?
I would.
All right, here's something for you and for the folks at home. Enjoy. If I could clear that line, if I could make that play, I'd give back those blocks that have gotten in my way. I don't know how it got bad as it did, I tried to slide 'em, but they stopped instead. Wanted to move 'em to a different side. The space was too tight, the block too wide. I didn't really mean to do that. I didn't want to put that there. My pile got too high. But baby, if I could clear that line, if I could make that play, I'd give back those blocks that have gotten in my way. If I could beat high scores, I'd share them all with you. And then maybe you would think I'm cool if I could clear that line. My screen is scattered, it's a total mess. Like I'm not very good at puzzle games, I guess. When I played it today, I swore that I wouldn't cry. But my game is in shambles, I wanna die. Too slow to spin it on its axis. Too dumb to fit it in that spot. I'm running out of time. But damn it, if I could clear that line, if I could make that play, I'd give back those blocks that have gotten in my way. If I could do T-spins, I'd do them all the time. Then I wouldn't have to look up tips online. Aww. If I could clear that line. 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 Oh, Tetris. I really need an eye block. I know exactly where it goes. Please God, just let me die. But oh, if I could clear that line, if I could make that play, I'd give back those blocks that are stuck there. No, I don't need a square. Don't think I ever do. They just fuck me every time. It's true. If I could clear that line, if I could make that. A little bit of a ballad beautiful. This week.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Wow. It's crazy how a lot of songs are 4 minutes long. You know?
Are you regretting saying you might do this every week? Might you not anymore?
Oh, right now, listen. I'm not guaranteeing every week, just for the important games.
Okay, only the important ones. Okay.
Yeah. Week 12, I'm on the fence. You know?
By that point, you're committed, though.
We'll see. Can you imagine in 6 months' time there'll be 24 of these?
My God. We'll see. We'll see.
This one wasn't so much, it was more of a thinker. It wasn't so much of a funny one. I mean, whoever said they had to be funny? They're song parodies. That doesn't mean they're going to make you laugh.
No, they just have to. Yeah. No, yeah. It's the gimmick. It's about Tetris. Isn't that kind of cool? That's fun. You like that.
Right now, I'm going to remind everybody that you can follow us online at Bad With Games on YouTube, at Worse With Games, also on YouTube. Subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/badwithgames right now for just free updates maybe stuff on there coming in the future. And email us, badwithgamespodcast@gmail.com. Anything else I need to mention?
I think you've mentioned it all.
Wow. Next week, we're taking our first trip to the arcade. We haven't gone to the arcade yet. We've done a home console and we've done a handheld console, but we haven't ventured out.
Arcade this week.
It wasn't worth it. Next week, we're heading to the arcade with none other than my main man, the Pac-Man, baby.
Waka waka.
Yeah, we're gonna waka waka all over this bitch. Come on. I don't like to hear that word. We're not talking about Ms. Pac-Man. Come on.
Normally I'd be stopping you, but I'm just curious how deep you're going to dig yourself.
That's it. Stay tuned for our first trip to the arcades with Pac-Man next week. Get ready for it and keep those emails coming. And as we always say here on Bad with Games, gamers out? You didn't say it.
I thought it was cheesy to...
What the fuck?